Hello and welcome back. I'd taken a few days off from working on this project, from working on the project because I was trying to do a temporary project to try to figure out how I was going to do the map movement. Now what we see here on the left here is my temp project. It's not the project I was working on. And what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to move around and trigger traps and whatnot, and have a way to show whether a tile is explored or not explored. So let me show you what I've done. Let's go ahead and start this up. It's building the world. And there we go. You'll notice our map. And it's pretty slow refresh. Now, the dots here represent this clear floor. The red checker things are lava traps. The green ones are poison traps. And this is a dart trap down here. Now these are random, so every time you play, for example, we run this again and are amazed at the incredible speed of BASIC. You'll see it all looks different. It looks like we only got one of those, but we have this huge amount of room. So that's us. That's the @ sign in true roguelike fashion. So if I hit N for north, or I could type north. Here, let's do this first. Put a help. So N or north goes north, blah, 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 blah. This is not perfect because of how I implemented the whole system. So let's go ahead and back to our game world. I'll type north. And you'll notice we're up closer to this lava thing. Now, BASIC is slow, so this refresh is slow. Let's hit east. And there you go. We are now east, just one east of this. So if I go south, I should be one south. Now that part works out pretty darn good. Now here's where I screwed up. I will just hit, let's go west. West. We'll hit a trap or something here. And west again. Now I don't have any code or anything written to take care of the trap. But I just want to, okay, hit the trap. Nothing's happening, obviously. You're in a dungeon. Now, look where I am. I am 1, 2, 3, 4 down. I'm going to hit west again. And you'll notice I'm now 3 down on this side. That's our first mistake. Oh, my first mistake. What I've done, let's go ahead and exit. When I wrote this, is right here you can see an array. And that represents the room that holds our map. You'll notice that it's a one-dimensional array. Now, I did that because I thought maybe it would use less memory than a two-dimensional array. But there's a lot of ways I'm handicapping myself by doing it that way. So, each room is 10 by 10. So go ahead and run this again. Each room is 10 by 10, which we'll see when the map loads up here. So 10 by 10. And then basically what I'm doing is doing a for next loop. And here I'll show you when we draw the playfield, which is right here. And don't pay any attention to the fancy border. I'm not going to put that in the real game that I'm making. But what I've done is, like, when I move west, it just subtracts. But since I stored everything in this array as a string, it's a little bit more difficult to do a comparison. I should have stored integers, and based on what the integers were, draw what's on here. Now, I made the mistake, I admit that, and I need to go back and fix that. So if I hit west, whoops, let's get focus on the window, west. Oops, and hit the right enter button. It goes up. So error checking, you know, I'm going to have to write some weird complicated code to error check when I hit left or right borders. Otherwise it's just going to keep subtracting and go up one higher or one lower depending on if I'm moving left or right. But when I go north, we'll go, well, it's close, well, we're about mid. We'll just go north. A couple more times. Basically what's happening, okay, now I'm not lava. Now if I hit north again, it checks and I can hit that boundary. But basically what I'm doing is I go north, PL equals player position, and it's an integer. So PL equal, or PL minus 10, or it says if PL minus 10 is less than 0, then return. And it says PL equals PL minus 10. So if it's less than 0, it's not going to do this math part here. It'll say, okay, I'm just going to return. I'm not going to let you subtract. So, and the reason why it's doing minus 10 is because we're 10 across and 10 down. So this minus 10 would be this. Minus 10 would be this. So it's easy for us to check boundaries, north and south. But east and west is not so easy. So what I'm going to have to do is implement a two-dimensional array instead of our little one-dimensional array that I have up here. Where did I put it? I know it's up there. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are all just looking at it right now. Not that it's important. Can't believe I've looked at this code so often that screw it. But anyway, I'm going to have to use a two-dimensional array so I can have an x and a y coordinate. That way it'll be x equals x minus 1 or x equals x plus 1 when I'm moving left and right, and y equals y minus 1 or y equals y plus 1 when I'm moving up or down. The other thing is the speed, and I'm not really sure what I can do about that without having to write stuff in assembly language, which I'm trying to avoid. And then the final thing, which I'm trying to figure out, is the monsters. Because the idea was to have the monsters slowly kind of move towards whatever your position was. So if you're here and there's monsters, they're just kind of beeline it. You know, every time you do something. But oops, let's get focus on here. Oops, let's Control Z that. If I type wait, which is a command I have, it'll go through and cycle all the other game logic, but it won't move you. So eventually the monsters will just close in on you and you just have to fight this horde. But the problem I see is they'll just walk through all these traps. So if I have a guy down here, he's just going to come toward you and walk through traps and not take damage. And kind of the idea of what I wanted to do was have the monsters avoid the traps, but I probably can do that. I'm going to probably have to have an array that holds all the monsters, and then it's going to check around each monster, and if there's a legal move, if he's trying to get here, but the only legal move's down here, he'll have to take that. So suddenly this thing's getting a little more complicated than I anticipated, but I'm still continuing on. The slow redraw, we're just going to have to live with that. Oops, soft. You'll notice it doesn't say what when it doesn't recognize. Oops, UTH, there we go. So, yeah, it's working. But anyway, that's where I am so far. Like I said, this is my test stuff over here. And I'm going to have to redo it so that it's a two-dimensional array, and I can do, and it's going to store integers, so I can do checking of traps easier and checking of boundaries easier. And it might help with my monster pseudo AI, if you will. Anyway, that's all I have right now, just so you know I haven't forgotten about anybody. And I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.